народов, для счастья народов, ракета у нас рождена. Годину суровых военных походов отчизне служила она. Ракеты, 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 любой нам наступит закон. Любому управлению оглядной планеты, далекий получит закон. Любому управлению оглядной планеты, далекий получит закон. Синие дали мы звездные дали, ракеты свои вознесли. До лунных просторов они долетали с великой советской земли. Ракеты, 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 любой нам доступен закон. Любому управлению оглядной планеты, далекий получит закон. Любому управлению оглядной планеты, далекий получит закон. Синие, надежные базы, самых советских границ. Черные базы накроются сразу над нашим ракеты, 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 любой вам доступен простор. Любому головке неоглядной планеты налетчик получит отпор. Любому головке неоглядной планеты налетчик получит отпор. Первый заморской налетчик, как ни был, он будет всегда под огнем. На стражи родного советского неба ракеты и ночью и днем. Ракеты, 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 любой вам доступен закон. Любому управлению оглядной планеты, далекий получит закон. Любому управлению оглядной планеты, далекий получит закон. Ракеты, 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 любой вам доступен.
Hello everyone.
закон.
I think this
Любому
comrade
управлению
music is a little too
оглядной
loud,
планеты, налетчик закон.
but here we go. I think that's a good amount. Thank you everyone for tuning in, your excitement. Hello everyone, PZ, Based, Syrian, Flash Kid, Mixin. A bunch of people commented before the stream started too. Really excited to get into this. Yes, I am a father, hello, yes. I'm not your dad though, just to make that really clear. Okay, how do we even begin with this? This is another mod that I worked on a long time ago. I have a bunch of teasers pulled from the Discord. I'm actually gonna pull up the Discord channel right now so that all of you can do your own digging. I'm tempted to even like... Hold on, is there like a single invitation? I'll just make an invite. I'm making a link for everybody in the stream. No, I'm not. Sorry. So this is the Discord of the server itself. Hello, Akulor. I'm tempted to like... I have like ping perms. I could just do that. And Yakoan, I think, is around. He's been active ever since I announced this. I just did it without telling him. But anyway, yeah. So let's just stop dilly-dallying. What is the mod? The premise of the mod is a Soviet victory in the Soviet-Polish War. Hold on, my wife is just texting me. Okay. Right, wife aggro has been alleviated. Okay, so yeah, he's our dad, comrade. Ha ha ha. I'm your lore dad. Okay, I'm your lore dad, not your actual dad. I want to be named lore dad without being accused of manipulating parasocial relationships. Is this German October without the German part? That is the most essential way to describe it. Before it was just a Soviet-Polish war mod. Then, so you see things here like Lithuania, Belarus, SR existing, the Ukrainian SR. This is like basically the Polish managed to get subjugated by the Soviets. And they had this weird lore where like the Soviets controlled Poznan, but then the nationalist Polish controlled Danzig. And it was like, why did they do that? And then the corridor is German. It just didn't really make much sense. So we were like, okay, I came in at least, and I was like, I recommend doing a single point of divergence. And I found out that Hans von Seeckt, leader of the Reichswehr, was in contact with Trotsky, leader of the Red Army. They had a tentative agreement to split Poland down the middle. And if you remember the early parts of German October, the Hans von Seeckt refuses to comply with the League of Nations mandated Poland solution. But in this timeline, they do. So even if there is a Spartacist uprising, the German October uprising, the Hamburg uprising, happened, the Soviet Union would not be strong enough to dare invade Germany when they have the backing of the Western powers and a stable mandate of Poland. So it's a variant of German October. I was working on Red Vistula, and then I'm like, wait, what if they didn't? And that's really cool. So Northern Germany would be Soviet. And then I took that and went with it. But this is where the idea first came to me. So, yeah, we have a lot of old lore here. There's a lot of teasers from way back when. I don't even know if this Polish modding association still exists. But you can see here that there's a lot of people who worked really hard on this mod, and it's unfortunately lost its traction over the years. I think the last developer is even in college now, so not much time. Look at Beclown the Rightists. Look at this. This is golden. I found something really funny though. It's really interesting actually looking at these now that I know Soviet history more to actually give an opinion on that. What's Tukhachevsky doing, you guys? What is he doing over there? Like, I just loved that. I was laughing so hard when I saw it. There's just a lot of really interesting things here. I'm not going to get too much into this because this is pretty outdated, in my opinion. This is one of the more recent things. This is something that I had a hand in. I wouldn't say that I would do this. I would have called it the Social Republic. Okay, based Syrian. Do I work on Hostile and 4 mods often? I used to. So I have a lot of stories and experience in the thing. Like the last one I was working on is AOTR. And I was only working on AOTR. What the Tukhachevsky doing though? What he doing though? Anyway, so the idea behind this was that... Oh, I shouldn't... Hold on. I forgot that I'm on YouTube. Fashion Republic, right? The idea is that instead of Mussolini deciding to ally with the bourgeoisie, he stays a socialist and he does a revolution. So they have Sardinia here covered up by Lenin. No Joseph Stalin in this game. Well, in this mod there wasn't going to be a Stalin. I might even change that because we'll get into this, but I want to talk about what we have to work with first. I really like the file names of these. I didn't make these. The guy who made this named everything after the national food. So this is the mandate of Poland. This is what I did. At least this is what I suggested, and this is how they started to implement it. Just at this timeline, I need to write that down properly. I'm going to put it in the pod description because people keep asking. Okay, I hope that fits. So that's like the very, very gist, but the devil's in the details, right? I would probably want there to be a Joseph Stalin path, actually, to be honest, just because of the way that everything works out. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We need to take this one step at a time. So the mandate of Poland is a League of Nations mandate under German control, the idea being that once the Soviet threat is eliminated, it could become fully independent. So there was a attempt for Germany to be kept around. But we can get into exactly what that actually means later. So this is another teaser. I'm gonna... No, actually I'm not. Hold on. I'm just gonna close this because there's a more updated version later. So there's this fascination with having Napoleon VI. I think he's even underage to become president at the time, to become the leader of France. I like it, that premise, but there's a certain element to the way that this alternate history was made before I came on. And it was like, let's take everything and then corrupt it. Like, put everything into a blender, and then everyone's history is just corrupted for some reason. And there are some elements where it's executed well, like the Turkish and Greek situation being different because of a different Soviet thing. That makes sense. But then there would be things like the Danish and Greek monarchies being in personal union because of a scandal that happened that went differently. But why would it happen differently? Anyway, I want to check this out. I want to move actually to something that isn't a portrait first. This is what perfect transition. This is what they were doing with the Kingdom of Greece. So you guys can read this while I read this message. I'm currently trying to figure out my own headcanon for Kaiserreich. I had the idea of Canada taking America, but not the homeland. Do you think that makes sense? The problem is that Canada and Kaiserreich is the exiled monarchy. If they aren't able to get over there, then they would need to like rebrand. You can't just have the monarchy occupying all of America, and I know that's not how it would be. I'm sure you have like puppet states set up like New England, but then the problem is that what are the Americans going to think if their only overlord is their former monarch? Like they would just want to get rid of it. So it's like, and then if they have a United States, then it's not Canada leading whatever faction you want. It's the United States. That's actually the problem that at least I was having when I was working on Call to Krieg, is trying to find a way to make Canada actually a superpower. And I took too many steps, and that was a critique that I think Golden had. And I saw him say something about it. I was like, yeah, that was me. I did that, but I take responsibility for that. But yeah, anyway, enough about Call to Krieg. Yeah, I think that it could have potential, but you might want to reconsider it, because it's like, well, unless there's some other reason why the USA is divided, it could be interesting though. Seeing what the monarchy decides to do in the New World could be an interesting thing. Anyway, are we there yet? Oh my God, don't even. My sons have been doing that a lot lately. Hey, it's Yakoan. Oh my God, look. Can I pin this message? Yakoan, he's the guy, he's like the last surviving developer of the mod. Everyone give respect to Yakoan. He put a lot of work into this. But in this case, I am going to... Actually, I'll wait until I get into that. But so yeah, Greece is... It's interesting border-wise. It might be a little big, but we can work with that, right? That could be something that makes sense. Hold on. It must be annoying having this always show up. I'm just going to close this. All right, so this is the Third French Republic. This is, I think, one of the more recent things. There was this idea... And you'll find it interesting, actually. I want to open up the image itself. Where is it? Did I get rid of it? Yeah, here we go. Okay. No, wrong one. I need to open it up here. So if you have been following Kaiserreich, you'll see that this is really familiar. I don't want to get into it. I really don't like this lore, especially in this scenario. In Kaiserreich, it makes more sense. But this is exactly the design that the guy wanted to do in Kaiserreich, but in Red Vistula, because the guy who designed it in Kaiserreich worked on this. I don't want to get into it, but basically this was removed in favor of just going back to the Third Republic. Like I said here, Greece should be bigger. It was mid-1921, though this universe seems to be a bit weird because Brest the Vast and its consequences. Yeah, I think it was 1821. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we're gonna figure this out a lot together, because it'll be an interesting way trying to like navigate and respect the lore of the original while taking a completely different approach. So we're gonna take a look at that. But This is the most updated version. As you can see, there's rising monarchic support, which we might be able to consider. Oh, spoilers. Here's some more things like the different leaders who could have become leader of the Soviet Union. Why is it doing that now? But one of the main conflicts of the mod is that the German Republic isn't going to last. There's going to be a civil war. I don't know if I have a teaser of the Civil War factions. Yeah, I don't think I do. You'll find out in the Discord. But if I had to quickly just draw it down, there was like the nationalists here, the Republicans supported by France here, the Soviets going in here, and then Poland maybe not surviving with the German communists over here, and they all have to fight each other. And then, however it resolves, it eventually ends up escalating to be a war with France and the Soviet Union. What is this live stream going to be about? Well, I'm going to be taking this idea, respecting as much of the lore as I can, while making attempting to revive the concept by making it simpler and not getting too much creep. So I guess there's no more teasers to really go for. Like, all this stuff you can look at the Discord. There's the proper Discord invite. I was looking for that, but I can't like copy paste it from there. Why is it Spain? Yeah, so this is a good opportunity to look at everything. So what they had was, I think I even used this in the thumbnail. Yeah, so the German Republic with the mandate of Poland. Something that I suggested to make it pretty interesting was that the German Republic, Mustache Man had once said, like, hold on, I need to think of the right way to say this. So back in the interwar, before Mustache Man's rise to power, but near the peak of his party's popularity, the president had the idea to make a chancellor of the German's Fashionista party like Strasser and not Mustache Man. And if that happened, it would cause a split between those who were loyal to Mustache Man and those who were loyal to the leftist faction of the German Fashionista party. And Mustache Man had remarked, if there's a split in the party, I will unalive myself. So I decided, hey, I suggested to Yakon anyway, hey, what if we had Strasser lead the Republic as Chancellor, and Mustache Man is no longer there. So we have them in power for them to have a civil war, but way weaker and under not nearly as effective leadership. Not that I'm praising him at all. But as you can see here, socialist councils in Hungary. That's an interesting name. It's the communist Hungarians. Kingdom Romania, Yugoslavia. They have it where they managed to link up with the Hungarian Soviet Republic, and we could do this if we push the plane of divergence far enough backwards, but I have a certain idea what I want to use to approach this. Why are the viewers going from like 40 to 11? What's going on here? It reminds me of a more tame version of Collapsing World. Yeah, I would have to look into that. I'm not too familiar. Yeah, so Yakon is saying that he's interested in letting people in. Canada take the home isles, but not mainland France. I would be interested in this if you message me on, or if you go into the Discord, like my Discord, and share your ideas there, then that could be interesting. But I want to focus on this right now. But thank you for your inquiry. So this is good reference, so I'll keep this open. But let's go over here. So this, I don't really want to show this, but this is like all the assets I ever used for German October, and I'll be pulling things in as needed. But this is what I have so far. It's very tame. This is just a prototype version of German October. This is like, I actually thought I could make German October when I was doing Project Stressa. Like, I had the idea as early as that point. And back then, I thought that I should only make a map with 1920 1080 size like this, so you can see cutoffs here and here and here. I didn't map the whole world, so, but I did map this all out. So we're going to take assets from here as needed to like expand it. So let me show you. So I have France here, Control C, Control V. Find where... Oh, this is French Africa, so we have to merge that too. So this is France, this is France. Oh. It's going to be a little complicated. But if we push this in the right spot, and we can like tell by how we align it everywhere else, and we're going to turn off the stroke thing. We place this here properly. There. So now we can merge all the French layers and we have all the French. So that's all we need to do there. We could even get rid of... No, this is the right one. So this is on top. French, Syria, and Africa, and yeah. So let's get rid of all those. Now we only have one France layer and it's just France. So we're going to be doing stuff like that to expand out the world. But I really want to focus specifically on this part first. So I'm just going to double check chat before I really go into it. Make a video on this pod? Yeah, like I want to make a video. I'm challenging myself to make it as fast as possible. Probably no animations, kind of like this Israelite video. I don't know if anyone noticed, but I just did fades between images. German October is my favorite, thank you. What about the failed Ottoman War of Independence? I don't like German October, no hate. I mean, fair enough. Solo Leo, that's funny. Yeah, okay, so let's get... Wait, there's something about Hungary. Yeah, hold on. Let's go into this before we get started. An idea I had was that a communist revolution did well over here, like anarchists, and then united with that so that the Soviets were strengthened because... But that doesn't make any sense. Like, I really regret that. We're going to reverse this. And then this Yugoslavia, Romania, Hungary border is because the Hungarians connected with the Soviets, which caused peace. But, like, in my opinion, if the Soviets were doing so well to have contacted the Hungarians, a lot of things would have happened differently. The Versailles Treaty that was being negotiated with Germany at the time, and like under semi-occupation and all that, it would be like halfway scrapped to be like, we need to put down this communist revolution. That's an interesting timeline. We can look into that. But I think for the sake of keeping things simple, single point divergence, move forward from there. We're going to take the point divergence of this, where after the miracle on the Vistula, where the Polish managed to push back the Soviet Union, Hans von Seeckt takes the opportunity to stage a border conflict, which leads to them occupying the former imperial 1914 borders here, while there are international garrisons everywhere. Huge uproar, but then it's like, wait, everyone calm down. Let's just do this, because whether we like it or not, Germany is the new bulwark against Bolshevism. And instead of Hans von Seeckt being a idiot, he goes, okay, let's let this garrison territory of my Black Reichswehr, my Reichswehr, or whatever they are, and give it to a local administration and democratic values or whatever. But then obviously German Republic in the interwar still is a problem. 1923 to 1936 is still a problem. So we need to figure out exactly how that would manifest and why. It would figure out what is going to be happening over here. I think it would be pretty similar to our history, frankly. I would need to look into the Turkish Revolution. It could be nice if anybody with more information, hi Grud, with more information would be able to help me figure this out here. And then what else is there? I think that's it. Okay, alright, so let's look at this now. So this is prototype German October assets with German October full things pasted over top. And we're going to be trying to figure this all out together. I don't have my RLC adjustment in this Photoshop document, and I don't want to try to find it. Is Turkey communist? Yes. In this lore they are. But I feel like I want to make that different. So we're going to take it one step at a time. When is after the shocks of the revolutions getting at? I don't know. I would ask the team over there. I'm not as involved as I used to be. I hope it comes out soon because it's a really interesting premise, and my friends and I have worked on it for a really long time. I want to start hiding layers so we can just focus on the main things. Like, we can't guarantee that Romania didn't have any border conflicts. We can't guarantee Hungary, Yugoslavia, Switzerland is going to be Switzerland, Spain's going to be Spain, Albania is Albania. I'm sure they wouldn't change. I do think Czechoslovakia would be this way. I do think that the Scandinavians would be the same. Yeah, Denmark, Sweden, Austria. Sometimes I get cheeky with my names and just call them completely different things. Like their native names. Danzig. Yeah, why is this? Yeah, that's weird. Just get rid of that. League mandate. Yeah, so these are the League of Nations mandates. So, not mandates. These are the international occupations. Hold on, let's see here. I think the communists, they wouldn't win the independence war. Britain and Italy and France would still support Greece. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like, they did get communist support. And Ataturk actually did say that he wanted to be a communist, but then obviously he went back on that. But what I think we can do is we could go, look, because the Soviets managed to commit more troops to Poland and actually succeed in Poland, and they needed to garrison all their stuff, maybe there's less material support for Turkey, therefore the Turkish War of Independence fails, therefore the Treaty of Sèvres is actually enacted. So that's interesting. I'm going to open up my compilation of QBAM historical map stuff. It's a document I have in all my video descriptions. This is where I use most of my references. I will see if I can link it, put it in the description afterwards. But I know that there's a Treaty of Sèvres. There's Sykes-Picot. Treaty of Sèvres 1920. Ah, damn it. It's a crazy Boris map and he's not on the QBAM thing anymore. That's unfortunate. Yeah. Oh, god damn it. Why does he have to be banned? I don't know what happened with that, but it's really annoying. I think I might have a patch in here. Let me see. German prototype China patches old reference. Do I have anything here? United States of Poland. Zoomed in Europe. Fureik. 1936. Turkey People's Republic. What is this? I mean, that's good enough as any, I think. Like, that's pretty similar to what they had. So I guess we could use that as reference. It's just not ideal. Let's take a look at chat again. Constrained USSR. So Russia would be in civil war, independent Soviets supplied Turkey and Greece. Yes, but Greece was getting supplied. Okay. Not that Poland lost the war to Soviets should be the reason why Turkey won the war of independence, because Turkey was clearly the first on the West. Yeah, that's a good counter argument. Because there were volunteers in the Polish. Yeah, I think there's even American volunteers. So if we take the approach that the oh my god, I just thought of something. Okay. So, if we're taking the approach that the Soviets in general just did better, we can take this event. I think it's called the Tau Tenbury Uprising. No, what was it? It was like a Moldavian communist revolt in like 1920. Khotin uprising? No. What is it? There was some. There's a. I'll need some help with this. I'm pretty sure that there was some sort of event where the Soviets sponsored communist revolutionaries in Romania after the Soviet-Polish War. And it could be interesting to see if something differently happens with that. That could be a big point of divergence or something that we can use to further change up the map. Let me see. There's a lot of things going on. Wow, it's a lot harder to keep track. Say the Soviet Union, when they said the Soviet Union thing. So it's planned to push into Germany after invading Poland. Why would they not push into Germany and support the German revolutionaries? Well, if you like that idea, I recommend you watch my series German October, where that literally exactly happens. We could do something like that, where even though Hans von Seeckt does this and Germany's united and the Soviets invade, okay, it's only going to be the Hamburg uprising, maybe also these places, but would they really want to face Germany, Britain, France, Italy all at once? At least in the event where there's a complete collapse of order in Germany, like in German October, France is so caught off guard they need to set up puppet states rather than actually doing anything else. And then they get all of northern Germany. So yeah, I really highly recommend you check out German October, because I look into that exactly. But in this timeline, we're not doing that. In this timeline, we're specifically looking at it where somehow the perceived alliance between the German Republic and the Soviet Union exists. And what does that mean? Yeah, Akilar, I would recommend you talk about it in the Discord so I can look at that once everything is done. Hi, Kangaroo. Without any direct support, the UK is Greece and impossible to maintain without facing internal division and bankruptcy. Soviets are being a sovereign country. Communist Turkey struggling. Okay. I really want to keep track of what's happening on the chat here, but I need to keep things moving over here myself. So I'll just try to get better with my skills as a streamer. But for now, let's just take it one step at a time. What is that uprising that happened in like a long Romanian Communist Revolt 1921? No, what was it? This is really infuriating. I know it exists, I just don't remember what it does. It really sucks. Okay, well, I believe that what happened is that there was a Moldavian Communist Republic that revolted against Romania that was supported by the Soviet Union. I really believe that happened. I can't guarantee, I can't look up any information, but if that did happen, we could have something where so this is like a snapshot of 1921. Okay, so we're gonna open a new thing. It's gonna be kind of like notes because I'm kind of frantic right now. But what was it? So it's this region of Romania. 220 because this is an actual country in real life. But would it include the Ukrainian section here? I mean, maybe. Maybe the Ukrainian communists are fascinated. And then here too. So it's kind of just like the Bessarabia demand. So maybe this ends up being another border adjustment. So let's see here. Communist Moldavia. And then if that happens, that'd be interesting. It's like a limited enough border conflict for it to not escalate too far. It gives like Bulgaria the opportunity to go in on Romania. It could even make Hungary go in on Romania. The Balkan Pact, though, the Czechoslovaks would be involved. Maybe they wouldn't want to be involved because of the Ukrainians living in, or the Ruthenians, I think, in this region here. But then again, they might want to give the Polish Galicia a little area, so there wouldn't be like a Ukrainian national movement here. So we can take a look at this. This is interesting. I like this idea so far. Tautenbury Uprising. Thank you very much. Tatanbunari. I'm going to look that up. Tartanbunari Uprising. There. Thank you very much. Shout out to Earth Mapping. That's exactly what it was. It was a Bolshevik-inspired Soviet-backed revolt that took place in 1924 around the town of Teutonbury, in Bessarabia, then part of Romania. It was led by a Soviet Revolutionary Committee, which called for the creation of a Moldavian Soviet Republic and an end to Romanian occupation. There, so this isn't even like a... This isn't a Romanian communist revolution. This is a Moldavian specific revolution. So we could have a Moldavian SR be integrated. And then... But then what happens to the rest of Armenia? Now that's really interesting stuff. You could have like fashionista, like pure fashionista, not like king related, like Republican, social republic, whatever. And then Hungary could be bigger, maybe. Or Hungary, well, that's the thing. If I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure Horthy was installed in Hungary as like a Romanian collaborator. So him being like suddenly turning on them doesn't make too much sense. But then like, what if the Seeckt, the Hungarians living in Transylvania, want to capitalize on this? Oh, everyone's seceding from Romania as minorities? Me too. The League of Nations mandate of Hungarian Transylvania. It's gonna get really messy, really fast. Hungary, Balkan, yeah. So Balkan would have been eliminated already. He was ousted in 1919. The point of divergence is like 1920, 1921. I am interested in making a timeline where Lenin managed to smash through Europe and communist Europe. Balkan would be included in that situation, but this isn't what the scope of that. They actually do have that in Red Vistula, but like in this revival, or my take on it, I'm gonna just keep it really simple. Single point of divergence. Horthy's in charge of Hungary. The Treaty of Trianon dismantles their military. Still recovering from their revolts of independence and stuff during the wars, so they wouldn't really have the opportunity to march in on Romania, but we'll see. Real question is, what's going to happen in Germany once markets crash? Yeah, exactly. That is a really interesting thing. It's not like German October where things are really bad because of Germany not even being in the world market, but it still would happen. There's no way that the Great Depression doesn't happen. What would the reason Soviets have to keep going? Because they're afraid of losing the revolution. So there were two different ideas of thought in the Soviet Union in this period of history after Lenin's death. There was permanent revolution, which was Trotsky being like, we need to fight all the time. Then there was socialism in one country, where they're like, we are a feudal country. There's no way we're going to form socialism without taking care of ourselves first. So this is the, like, you put your own mask on in the if there's an airplane crash, you put your own mask on before you help someone else. So that's the approach I'm taking, is that Stalin-ish people, or just Stalin period, is still in power in the Soviet Union. But if you want to see a timeline where Trotsky tries to do a permanent revolution, you can check out my series. It's an entire 3 hours, if you round up. 3 hours of me talking about that, so definitely check that out, Tyler. The Greek could own Istanbul, renamed Constantinople. The Turkish War in 1919 to 1922 carved out Turkey, and the Turkish independence failed. We're currently debating whether or not the Turkish War of Independence should succeed or fail. I kind of like the idea of a big Greece, because even though you could make an argument for Turkey's War of Independence being better, you could be like, oh, well then the Allies or the League of Nations, they pull out. Oh no, hold on. Maybe, I don't know. There's arguments for both sides, but the original mod has it. So I feel like we should respect that. I could be wrong though. Problem with Greece's own Istanbul is UK not supporting it in the first place. Yeah, so that would be like a there's like a idea for like a Straits mandate. There's even a British flag for it. It had like an impaled star and crescent with a Union Jack stabbing into it. It's really interesting, and that's even represented in the it's even represented in the teaser here. So this Constantinople, you can see it's not the capital of Greece. It's like a mandate. This is like a specific Straits thing. I think the Straits thing would be even bigger, frankly. And it would allow for the Entente to move troops into the Black Sea. I think that, I think this is the argument. This is my argument, and I would like to hear people's thoughts. But when it comes to determining whether or not the Turkish War of Independence should succeed or fail, I think it should fail because the Entente would specifically invest more time and energy into securing the Bosphorus Straits because the Soviet Union now controls all of former Imperial Russian territory. It's not like where Poland exists, the Baltics exist, and also this eventually happens, but it doesn't happen right away. But they managed to capitulate Poland, and the East is secure. Like, they're like, we need the Straits now. We need to get in here. Like, Crimean War. The Crimean War was only able to be even supplied and won because the Ottomans were on the side of the British and French. The Ottomans were not on the side of the British or French in the Great War. The Turkish National Republic under Kemal would not be on the side of the French or British. They would not want the Straits to be where I can look into like the Strait Treaty and what that actually means. But in a situation where he's flirting with communism, Germany's flirting with communism too, technically, by collaborating with the Soviets in their invasion of Poland, they need to get somebody eliminated. And I think that they would go in on Severus, which has huge ramifications. If you think about it, huge ramifications. Turkey would have their colonies that they were promised in here. They wouldn't get everything that the Treaty of London said that they would, but they would also have these colonies here that were supported by the British. There would be less of a narrative of a mutilated victory, which means that Yes Man could potentially not be in power. And that's a really interesting consideration. So I think for the sake of having a little cascade, respecting the original lore, and going from there, I'll say we're going to go with a Turkish defeat. Hold on. Original mod's too unrealistic. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that we're going to have a Greece that's nearly this big. I think that we would follow the Treaty of Sèvres, not so much Greek nationalist claims. The Treaty of Sèvres, I really wish I had it. I want to see if I can... I think I have a map from a long time ago. Ancient. I just don't know which one of these Photoshop documents it is, and I don't want to do that on stream. Which one of these is safe? I want to quickly, so black screen for a bit, you guys. I'm just going to be opening up all these old Photoshop documents. I don't want to, like, accidentally dox myself or something. The interwar. Okay, so I think that this is safe. This is something I was working on. This is like a, FR Cold War situation that I was trying to do a little bit of a lore grave on, but I believe that this is like Severus stuff, and I think it even, what was this? Yeah, so as you can tell, I'm trying to mimic what they have here. This is the Imperial Federation. Yeah, this is the same references as before. So we'll just look at this. So Greece, Italy, France. This is also an alternate Sykes-Picot, but we're not going to do the alternate Sykes-Picot. We're just going to be taking this Greece and this Italy and bring it in here. But it's going to be the wrong size. Yeah, it's 2 times too small. So we're going to buff this out. Make sure it's on nearest neighbor, not by cubic. put this on top of everything just to make it really easy, because we're not even really taking the data here. See, like, we're not even taking this Dalmatia. We're just taking these. What is going on here? There. We're taking this Greece situation, and we're taking this Italian colony. That's all we're doing. So, one, select. We have the Italian colony of whatever the hell this colony was supposed to be called. We have a layer for Greece already, so we'll use this color scheme. But we have these borders for Greece. So, click, 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 click. There. So now we have this too. So, bigger Greece. Turkey's a lot smaller. I think that there was... Oh, dude. Yes! Okay. There. Hold on. I'm really excited. I just realized what this could mean. This is starting to escalate. So this is so awesome. Anyway. Hi guys. Hi Louis Avant. Thank you for being a channel member. Italy had so much problem inside, adding up expensive Anatolian lands would just make it worse for Italy. True. But the political sympathy that people would have for Yes Man would not be nearly as strong. It means that there's an alternate pathway and whatever for their history, but it doesn't necessarily mean what is it? And I'm not saying that it's good for them. Definitely not saying it's good for them. Memeland would still join Lithuania in 1923. I think I have it here that they are part of the USSR. I think that's just not correct though. Like, if you think about it, the international divisions, what is it? League mandates? Yeah, so I have the border here. These are French and British troops actively in Germany. When they would invade, they would be here defending Germany and defending Lithuania. Like, if there's an invading army, you defend yourself. You don't think about, like, oh, is this the right enemy to fight or whatever. It's just like, no, dude, save yourself from the invader. So all these people would just be like, oh, there's people shooting at us, we'll stop them. Even if it means that it's enriching Germany. But let's look at it this way. We could have a mandatory Poland, but we could have a mandatory Lithuania too. So this is mandatory Lithuania. This is mandatory Poland. Mandatory Lithuania is really tiny, but it's still a attempt to mediate the whole dynamic between the Germans want their 1914 borders back. Wilson wants the 14 points to be established. They're like, well, if you want the 14 points to be established, then give us Austria. Italy and France are like, no, we don't want you to be stronger because of this war. We want you to be weaker. Give us your money. Everyone has a lot of conflicting whatevers, but they're like, okay, but look at how big the USSR is. Everyone chill out for a minute. So, like, that's why they have this. So there's a mandatory Lithuania now. Economic stability and guerrilla warfare. Really care if they got land. Yes, because the people who would be, like, financing the fashionistas would not be investing their money into changing government. They'd be investing their money into stabilizing the colonies for resource extraction. Like, yeah, there's the people at the top who make influential decisions, and then there's the people at the bottom, and then there's a dynamic there. It could be that Italy has a communist revolution. Maybe, we don't know, but I don't think it's going to be Mussolini. Oh, I said the bad word. Might be much more popular, claiming specifically got the better in large portions, didn't help them stabilize Anatolia. Yeah, that's true. That's a good argument too. But that could definitely be what happens. But we'll look into it. We'll consider everything. Oh, and then another thing too is that Gallipoli isn't seen. Oh wait, no, Gallipoli would still be seen as a failure, right? Yeah, I don't know. I have to look into that, but it has ramifications for the British too. So ask me, I think that fashion Italy would rise, but way later. It starts in 1936. Italy would be fashion, but okay, yeah. YouTube, man, him. He didn't say yes, man, yet. Yeah, France and UK definitely did get larger portions. That's true. Anyway, the thing that I was really excited about, I wish I had that Treaty of Sèvres Cuban patch. I don't know where that is. It's really infuriating to me. I'm gonna move this up. So you can tell in FR you have a situation here where Armenia is as big as that, right? I don't think that the Soviets would get this, but there was an idea, because hold on, this region in the Treaty of Sèvres was promised to Russia. It was the Italians, British, and French all getting their sections of the Ottoman Empire. I think the Kurdistan Mandate was French, yeah. We're gonna keep the Seickt-Picot. Well, I don't know. We have to look into that too. Seickt-Picot could be different. All these borders could be different. Hold on, I'm hearing some noises. I need to check it out. Okay, I'm safe. There's no invader in my home. It's just a window washer. Ambrosio is leader of monarchist junta. Maybe. Albania would be divided earlier if Greece and Italy hold land in Anatolia. They were kind of cooperating. Yeah, that makes sense. Kurdistan was British. From Syria, yeah, that might be correct. But without the Russians here to take the Armenia mandate, who was going to take it? They suggested that the territories that would be taken from the Ottoman Empire, that were designed to be Russian, be given to the Americans. So there would be an American mandate of Armenia. So think about that for a second. American mandate of Armenia. I think I have a... There's like a QBAM of it somewhere. Yeah, hold on. So this is from Reddit. This is imaginary maps from user. I want to make sure I want to just link it here. I'm copying and pasting this map by this guy. So go check it out. He made a very beautiful map of this. So the American mandate for Armenia would have all this land. I don't think that they would have Armenia, but they would have Turkish Armenia. And that mandate of Armenia would claim Armenia, that's Soviet Union. And a direct border, indirect, but very direct border between the Americans and the Soviet Union. Wilsonian Armenia mentioned. Very possible history build. He made a video about that too. Hi, Paulina. Yeah, so if he did that, then that's great. Shout out to Possible History. But I think here too, I think this is the Kurdistan thing. So then there'd be a bunch of borders between all these things, all these nations taking their own little slices of the pie. Ottoman fashion could rise, or Turkish fashion. I'm not going to say could, it definitely would. Like, we need to consider that going forward. Vittorio Ambrosio as a potential leader. Yeah, okay, I'll look into that. Thank you for the suggestion, Connor. Armenia was never meant to be an American vassal. It was just that because Wilsonian wanted independent Armenia. Yes, but Wilson wanted nations to be independent. The Europeans were approaching World War I with the idea that it was just another European war. They needed buffer states and claimed territories. America is like, what if we just let people exist? They had conflicting ideas of what that meant, the only solution they could come up with was the League of Nations mandate system. So it's like an American vassal state, but because it's an actual American thing, then it wouldn't even be a League of Nations mandate, because America wouldn't be in the League of Nations. Maybe they would. But it would be like this is an ally of ours puppet to help them get strong enough to get into the USSR or whatever, right? So it's just like, I don't know, it makes sense to me. Fun idea, never happened. Sorry, just not possible. How dare you? You're banned. I'm kidding, you're not banned. I don't know. I think that it could work. I don't know. I kind of just want to do it anyway. Like, why don't we just do it anyway? I think Italy would still turn fashion because the parts of Dalmatia, yeah, that's true. Dalmatia was a lot more important to them than a coastal Anatolian colony. In fact, even in that case, it could even be that the Italians go, "Hey, Turkey, here's your land back. Thanks, Italy. Let's be friends." Greece goes, "What?" Greece gets partitioned between Bulgaria, Turkey, and Italy. How could this have happened? Greece is an ally of Britain. Italy goes, "Screw you, Britain." Fights Britain. France is like, "I'm confused." Thank you for, thanks for watching this. That was one of the most cringy things I've done. Sorry, everyone. Please subscribe. I didn't ban him. I just said I would ban him. Excited for the American Armenia content. Yes, everyone loves it, okay? Everyone loves it. Everyone knows it. It is the unimplemented boundary of the First Republic of Armenia in the Treaty of Sèvres, as drawn by U.S. President Woodrow Wilson's Department of State. Western Armenia was meant to go to the Russian Empire, yes, but it was taken by America since the Russian Empire collapsed, yes. The Entente one didn't want to erase the resource, yes. All true. So this PZ has the right idea of what I'm suggesting. Tyler, I think you're right, but not in the. I wasn't talking about that specific way, but I'm not saying that's not true, and we need to consider that. We still need to consider it. I mean, Armenia, America, yeah. I feel like the Soviets would be able to take their Armenian claims if the Turkish were getting mutilated. That's true. That's true. It could be Soviet, but then if the Entente forces are already there putting Turkey down, they would already be occupying it, and they would be able to defend it from the Soviets. And if the Soviets did try to get involved in Turkey, it'd be like, oh, they're a communist nation, so they had to put down the communist nation. So then it's like, okay, well then what if this is just like a war in 1920? But then it's like a world war. Well, it's like kind of Hearts of Iron 4 rules if you think about it like that. On Armistice Day, there were Americans navally invading this part of the USSR. I'll see if it's in my reference QBAMs. Yeah, see here. So this is Armistice Day. Everyone's like chilling out, but there's still people fighting all the way up in the north. Allied intervention. This is when the treaty was being negotiated. So like literally there were people intervening up here. So like they were already fighting. So it's just a matter of like escalation. So I don't know. I want to sit on it. I want to think about it. I really want American Armenia though. 51st state of Armenia. No. It would be like a puppet vassal state. Okay. So that was interesting. So I want to make sure I put down these notes because it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to actually remember. Notes from Red Vistula stream. American Armenia ? Brackets yes. And what else is there? I have the Tartanburi uprising. Yes. So there's a lot of 1920-ish conflicts directly or indirectly involving the Entente powers and the USSR? Is there a larger conflict? Whoa, there's a lot of messages all of a sudden. Hold on. But the Entente troops go deeper into Anatolia and will only occupy the Seickt lands. Yeah, I think that they would, and I think that it means that the Turkish Republic is a really rump state. Be the 49th state. Yeah, nice actually there. Joint Soviet-Turkey invasion happened much earlier than expected. Even if Turkey never assisted the invasion, the Soviets could easily roll back Armenians until Turkey such defeat. I need to look into that. I think you're right. Either way, bigger USSR is in the theme of the mod. So, do the in-mod subdivisions of USSR. This is a 1924 map, so I'm using the 1924 borders. You can see the Kazakh SSR isn't there. The Turkish, the Transcaucasian SFSR is still there. Could be wrong internal subdivisions though, but yeah, by the 1936 map that I'll have for the video, it'll be that way. Did you know that the U.S. didn't even declare war on the Ottoman Empire? No, I didn't know that. So you're telling me that the United States intervened in a Middle Eastern country? that I don't know. That sounds pretty implausible to me. Is Moldavia independent and part of the Soviet Union? It would be like we're a Moldavian communist socialist republic seceding from Romania and immediately become a member of the Soviet Union. So, you know, like, that's how I see the Romanian thing solving. Worth noting, then, let's start doing this. Wait, this is 1920. So we're gonna, this is 1920 number. We don't know yet. Rough post-war. Then we're going to add this, not this interwar, Communist Moldavia. We're gonna put this on top. Then we're gonna put it inside, and we're gonna take this over notes thing. For some reason that's there, and hide that and put that up here. Nope, that's now in Germany asset. What is it, Germany assets even? Oh yeah, this is the divided Germany assets thing that we could use if we wanted to. Take a deep breath. Okay. This border revision is actually the only Axis border change that the Entente kept, and it was the Romanian annexation of that little sliver there. The weird interwar still being shown. That's why they didn't get deleted. Control Shift I to change invert the selection, and then erase all this, re-invert it, Bulgaria, get this, and this is the internal subdivision border, select one. We'll just not turn out contiguous, even though I could have just selected all that, and then we get the internal subdivision border and put that there. And then we look at the historical ambition of... No. Do I have... I'm sure I have a World War II, I mean, like 1950s QBAM reference somewhere. Well, I'll just use... I'm just going to use this as reference here. Because this is post-Soviet, so... Can't be that incorrect. It's worth noting, yeah, so like there would be a border revision or whatever. Why is there Romania here? This is supposed to be... I want to erase the... Yeah, right. So erasing this part of the USSR. We are erasing this part of Romania. Remember me? Give love to the Polish-Ukrainian Galician border. Giving the Polish borders kind of equity. Galicia Premicioli. I do not know what that is. I will look it up. Przemysl. City in Poland. Southeastern Poland. 56,466 inhabitants. Do they not really have it? Well, like, look, if you can tell here, I'm determining whether or not Ukrainian or Poland should have this. So I have the ability to make it all Polish, so. Yeah, I have it. I think that they will get Galicia, which I believe it's involved in Galicia. Did it actually exist? It was short-lived. Oh, thank you. That's really helpful. Uh-oh. I missed a phone call. I won't worry about that for now. The border in the Molotov-Ribbentrop. You're saying that this is the border of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact? Yes, you're correct. And this is potentially what the Soviets would have done if they didn't have to negotiate it with the Germans. I assumed the Soviets would make it hybrid because it's mostly Ukrainian and Polish. Yeah, maybe it ends up being its own SSR, like a Galician region. I don't know. It's a possibility. If neither of them can agree, then it will go to someone else, and then it's like, well, this is the imperial region of Austria, so then they have to decide, okay, well, like, what are the Germans living here, what are we going to do with them? And then they will eventually make it Polish and Ukrainian. That's just what the Soviets did. They attempted to fix ethnic issues before they happened, or while they were happening, by just transferring populations. What, Why, How has really good video about that, actually. I really recommend this channel. Really good content. This red line, that's like Transnistria, so we don't have to worry about that. Just wanted to make sure I have it proper here. So we have the Communist Republic of, or the Soviet Republic of Moldavia being integrated into the United Socialist Republics of whatever. I don't know what's going on here. I'm worried that that call is important, but I keep getting spam calls, so it's probably nothing. I don't get what that border is. We're just going to give it over here. And then, yeah, a little extra here, why not? The Ukrainians of that region also decide to secede. Polish population is mostly in cities like Lviv. Majority of the government, Galicia, was Polish Jews. Reference in 1940 Cuban? I don't have one. I only have like this, which is not conducive. Fashionable Czechoslovakia. Let him cook. Hold up, let him cook. What? I don't know why I've never considered that. I think it's because it's a union of two nations. I can imagine like a Zapadoslavia being a nationalistic version of Czechoslovakia, but I also don't think that would really happen. Let's see here now. USSR and Communist Moldavia. Let's merge these layers, and it keeps the name of the top layer. So now we have this. Yay! Slightly bigger USSR. And then, yeah, I think that it might end up being that the Soviets end up taking Armenia, and then they would naturally divide up the SSRs, so it's not just the big translocation Socialist Federal Socialist Republic. think Stalin would still come to power, like the more I learned about Soviet history. But there could be interesting alternate leaders that aren't Trotsky or Stalin. Doesn't have to do the ethnic divide. Why for some reason change a lot of other parts of SSR borders for reasons? Yeah. Like the Lithuanian, the Latvian and Estonian ones being combined into one tag. I think that was like a gameplay reason. But it's like, well, if it's a gameplay reason, why even have other tags? I don't know. Then Lenin was his real name. Yeah, I don't think Lenin changed his name. Stalin did, though. And Ho Chi Minh did. I think Trotsky did, too. Only fashionable movement there is a German one. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And Paid Yak 79 is the original, or like the last surviving developer of this mod, so give him some sort of respect. National under Radola Gaja. Huh. You chose the name Lenin as a... Oh, really? Oh, okay. Oh, it's Vladimir Ilyich. Yeah, that's right. That's his real name. Yeah, they need to change their names. Yeah, that's an interesting aspect of the people who are communists, is that they change their names. Okay. Focus. Get back. Okay. A lot of yapping, but then again, I did say it's a map and yap, so it's to be expected. Yeah, Lenin changed his name. It's Tetris, you guys. I really want this. Sorry. I'll try to be measured. Okay, back to focus. So, point of divergence. Seeckt goes through the invasion of Poland, but accepts the League of Nations mandate. The German October fails. Trotsky does not become leader of the Soviet Union. The Turkish War of Independence is lost because the Entente put more energy and power into suppressing it. The Soviets aren't able to support them nearly as much because they're busy garrisoning Poland. Through the way that they were intervening, potentially just betraying the Turkish Revolution altogether, they take this region, or the Entente managed to get there before they do. Regardless of what the outcome is, there's going to be either the Soviets here or something here. It's not going to be Turkish. The Kurdistan Mandate, I think it's British. If the Kurdistan Mandate exists, maybe the Sykes-Picot borders would be different. I need to look into that. The Turkish, Ottoman, whatever the hell here, is stuck paying war reparations in his rump state. There's a international Straits zone that allows the Entente to get involved over here in order to put pressure on the Soviet Union. This is why the Soviet Union tried to support the Turkish so much. It's just because they didn't want that to be in potentially hostile, no, not even potentially. They were directly intervening in their civil war. Hostile people here. Romania gets smaller because of this Moldavian insurrection. The Bulgarians probably just cheekily go grab this. I don't know what happens to the Hungarians here. Premiersealed to Galicia. You guys and your names of places, I do not understand. So we're talking about, but by to Galicia, you mean like making the, don't take this as gospel, but you're saying to like make an entire SSR this. That could happen. And I can easily just swap this, so don't take this line as like me solidifying this, because it's really as easy as just painting that out. You guys think that this makes sense? Rusin state? Is this Galicia to Primisil? Is that it? Is this what you guys want? That's disgusting. If you had to ask me, I'm disgusted by that. No, anything but that. I don't know where Primisil is. I kind of see it. Like, what is it? Is it you want me to do this? Is Primisil over here? Like, I can see on Google Maps. Like what? Like, okay, I want to Google Maps. Why are we getting so fascinated about this small city here? Hey, look, this is what the Polish people are complaining about. They want that, or this. They want this to be a part of. Look, it's like a border. Look up Molotov-Ribbentrop. This is horrid. Please remove this from my eyes. I promise I'll look it up later. Remind me on Discord. I'm kind of occupied. Didn't the Soviets didn't even save the Hungarian Reds? They wouldn't. Yeah, they were surrounded and they couldn't break the Carpathians. Two little hills in deeper part of the border. Okay, well, yeah. I will shift over the Polish border a bit. Don't worry. Just remind me in the Discord server. Let's talk about other stuff now. Okay, so we've solidified that the Turkish are going to fail. We solidified the Hungarians are going to fail in the revolution. What's happening with Yugoslavia? Bulgaria managed to take a little land off of Romania. Is Romania just getting partitioned? Is northern Transylvania going to be given to Hungary? That was like a German idea, though. That did not have to do anything to do with Romania. I mean, yeah, Romania or Hungary. I'm sure Hungary would have wanted it, but they wanted all of Transylvania. By that point, Galicia would have joined. Yeah, I think so. Democratic regime established in Hungary and not an autocracy. Well, I mean, that's not. Horthy would still be put in charge. There's no way around that. What about Asia? Okay, what about Asia? That's a good question. I don't think much in Asia would be different. The only point of divergence is 1920. And the Soviets are bigger. Like, if you guys have seen German October, I have it where because the Soviets managed to take over all of northern Germany, Wang Jingwei doesn't trust Stalin nearly as much to start a rival government. So there'd still be a rival government in Wuhan, but because I think Stalin would still be in charge, he's going to send his instructions, which, to be fair, any communist would send those instructions to a leftist member. Any Bolshevik would. It's not a matter of it being Stalin being silly. That's just their ideology. Then Wang would defect, but then he would not be allowed back into the KMT. So it's still under Chiang, I think. There's no big change in China that I see happening due to the point of divergence. Do you know why the Finnish civil red victory does not get as much attention as Vistula? I think the Finnish one is more interesting. I think that people find the Polish one more interesting because of the borders of Poland nowadays being far to the west compared to the east. I think they find it interesting because the ramifications of a Polish victory allows for the Soviets to be involved in Germany. Having a Soviet Finland is interesting, but it's only limited to the Baltic and the Scandinavian countries, which were historically neutral. So, yeah, that's just my take on that. Yeah, please send anything in the Discord, and I'll take a look, and I'll pull up the image if I can. Schizo Asia. Taiping Japanese Mandate of Christ? What? Hold on. Dardanelles would probably be a part of the International Straits Zone. Yes, they would. They would be, because they need that section there. So that's a good point. We'll keep that in mind. I don't see there being a Schizo Asia, because like there's I was wanting to talk about this earlier, but I didn't get to it. There's this meme in alternate history mods, especially in Hearts of Iron 4, where they see how different the world of Kaiserreich is compared to our history. And in some cases, they do just add a little local point divergence to make things a little interesting there, right? But because it's not singly from a single point, it's just like a corruption or whatever history was happening at the time. And then those histories clash with other regions, which causes problems. Kaiserreich avoids this problem by having regions developed before countries. So instead of like the city of Luxembourg, or like Luxembourg having a point of divergence that completely screws over Germany, no, the point of divergence impacts the region first. So even if there is a corruption there, it's not a problem. But the Red Vistula devs didn't really realize this when they were first starting. So, and myself included, this is where I learned this lesson. Like, you can't just have an Iberian communist state because of gameplay balance and cool. Like, it needs to make sense of the single point divergence that you have. And I think with the Red Vistula, there's a lot of inherited ideas that come from this old, like 5 years or however long it's been, development cycle of this mod being revived and put away. Summer break, whatever, Yakoan has some time to work on it, then put it away, comes back with new history ideas. It needs to have a single point divergence that doesn't change, and the gameplay balance can come afterwards. How can I suggest my own map for Turkish War of Independence? So if you join my Discord server, you can go to a channel, probably like art or alternate history sharing, and then you can post whatever version of the map you want there, or you can talk about it there. I will make I'll do it right now actually. There's this thing I've been doing where I have like a forum of suggestions. I'm about to add a section of in the ideas for Lordad, a forum for Red Vistula ideas. So you can go into this forum that I just made in my Discord server, and you can post your ideas in the forum. And the forum is a lot better than just sending a bunch of messages. I can't find a link for my Discord right now, but it's in my description of several of my videos. You'll be able to find it there. Tautenary revolt succeeded, led to Poland joining. Yes, that's correct. Okay, thank you. I'll look into that. What happens to Ataturk after he loses? He could be exiled. He could be executed for treason under the old Ottoman regime, which is like terrible. But he stays in power as an unpopular president, resigns. I mean, that's more plausible. I need to look into exactly how he came to power. But from what I understand, he was like designated as the vizier of the Ottoman Empire, and then he's just like, "JK, I'm a republic now." And I guess that's what That's what the Soviets were so impressed with him by, because he's like anti-imperialist, because he like literally destroyed the empire. But yeah. How did they get Moldava back? Somebody already mentioned it. The Tottenbury revolt succeeds, and other claims against Romania are made, like the Bulgarians taking the Bruja back, or whatever the region's called. Discord, you can find the forum. It's in the bottom. Ideas for Lordad section, and then there's a Red Vistula ideas in the bottom of that section. You'll be able to put it there. Yeah, so I don't really see Asia being that much different. I would need to look into exactly what was happening in Asia during the point of divergence. I think that the Mongolians will still become communist. I still think Tiantu will become communist. I still think that the Soviet policy in China would be the same, doing a two-stage revolution. Like, a lot of these things can be different if we have a different Soviet leader, but I don't know what the different Soviet leader would be, and I haven't been able to contact Serov. He's just gone. Hopefully he's okay. So I don't know. I can't consult my Russia lore expert. But then Japan, is Japan going to do anything different? No. Why would Japan do anything differently? Like, they would do the exact same thing that they were doing. It could be that the communist movement is different. Could even be that... Oh, yeah, no, so here's going to be something interesting. In China, under the leadership of Chiang Kai-shek, he sought European military advice on how to deal with the communists. And he ended up hiring the services of Hans von Seeckt, the guy who led the incursion into Poland. So hold on, there's like a bleed prevent, which is preventing me from seeing this. So this is a really good resource. I think it's in the references Cuban. So we can just look at this while we talk. There's different visuals of what's happening in China. So this is 1920. So this is the most accurate for the time period. What was I saying? Hans von Seeckt would be involved in China, and the Republic of Germany, like the Weimar Republic, was on very good terms with the Republic of China. So the Republic of China and Germany would be good friends if they don't fall a civil war, but they do. So we're gonna let's talk about the Hearts of Iron 4 asking mechanics of this before we wrap up, because I'm starting to hit the point where I need to do a lot of research and look at other people's suggestions and stuff with like actual visuals other than entertaining an audience. So let's look at the 1936 element of this whole thing. So quick notes here. This is going to go back to Spain and Portugal. This is the same, maybe not, I don't know. There might be a different government name here, who cares? Romania is getting this lost. Hungary is getting this because they lost it in that war. So this is the actual Trianon borders. Czechoslovakia is getting this. Maybe this panhandle goes to Poland. The Lithuania, Belarus, SSR wouldn't exist still, so that's going away. The Latvian and Estonians are gone. The Armenian sections here could be Soviet, or they could be American. I don't know. The Italians would have this colony. The Turkish would still have this. The Greeks would have this. These borders are really weird. Like, isn't there a lot of Greeks here? I could be wrong. Anyway. No, there's more Greeks up there. That's why. But anyway, this is the rump Turkey. This is Italian. This is Greek. This is Soviet. Or American. I think that's all the border adjustments. This is... I don't know what this is. I think that they're still on good terms. They could be in here too with Greece and Albania. I don't know yet though. I'll look into that. But so what are the war dynamics here? This is a World War II game. I want to be able to fight in this World War II. What is this World War II? Project Stress a super event. Oh, you mean like a Reddit post, or? Yeah, I mean I would like to see that. That could be fun. Be sure to like ping me if you make it or something. I want to be able to share it. I could share it on my community tab maybe. Okay. What is the World War II in this situation? So let's just disregard any of the ideas for the ideologies of these nations. Like, oh, is it more socialist here? Is it the petit bourgeois? Whatever. It doesn't matter. We're just focusing on the geopolitics of all of these nations. France wanted to contain Germany by making Austria, Czechoslovakia, and Poland. It was a cordon sanitaire where we locked this region down so the Germans don't come back. But now the Germans have pushed over here. Now, Britain, France, and depending on if they're aligned or not, Italy, want to prevent capitalism from being eliminated by the communists, they need to work with the German Republic. This implies that there would be some sort of alliance, but Germany, depending on its leadership, could either just want to exist here like vibing, or they could be evil and want evil, you know what I mean? Like aggressive and want this stuff. They want this stuff. They want this stuff. Which is like more reasonable, like it makes sense, right? But then if they're like that, then what happens to Poland? This little sliver here. In original ideas, this little sliver was meant to become a French ally, and then the French was to go in here. But then, like, the Soviets are already all the way over here. That doesn't make much sense to me. The Soviets, regardless of their ideology, they claim Polish land. So the Soviets are going to want to go in here. They take this area if there's any instability. Honoring the original mod, I still think that there should be a civil war of some kind or something. I think the German Republic, really flimsy, needs to be got out of the way before the real quote-unquote war of the mod can continue. Now this is a little weird. It doesn't really follow typical ideas. It would require France to go in and invade. Like we could say, oh look, this is a republic. Oh, look, this is a communist republic. Oh, look, this is a no Germany over here. Uh-oh, I almost put the symbol down when I should put the number, the letter. Oh, no, all these people here are fighting. This is civil war. No. No, do not do a civil war. Do not do a civil war. Have these people go, oh, I don't want to work with you, or, oh, I want to take out the mandate of Poland. France goes, nope, and invades. Soviets go, oh, that's an opportunity, and invade. Oh no, a sovereign country being invaded by a neighbor? I wonder what's going to happen. Probably nothing. Britain's going to be like, I'm an imperial federation. Like, we could do anything. Like, I'm out. Nope, I'm not interested. Or maybe they're like, hey, I'm with stupid. and then so they figure this out. Like that's the most reasonable thing to me, because if you have German Republic being like, oh, I'm just a wholesome German Republic, I just want democracy, like that's interesting. Like that could be fun to do. But then what's France gonna do? Like who are they going to fight? That's why I think I added this Iberian thing here. But like, what is France gonna do? They're gonna be just friends forever? What, so the Soviet Union's gonna have to fight Germany and France? I don't know. I want to take a look at the chat now instead of just ranting. Somehow, Alexander I became king. Yugoslavia could have collapsed. You present it as already collapsed. Yeah, maybe. No way Soviets letting Armenia. Yeah, I know. Yeah, fair enough. Against her. Yeah, maybe. Could discussed. Maybe UK, Germany, Italy versus France, USSR. Geopolitically, that makes sense, actually. That's pretty crazy, but, like, that could actually work. I'm kind of digging that. We could do two different approaches with that. I keep sending you messages early. Berlin, Shanghai axis goes hard. Yeah, probably condemn with a little off them. Yeah, it makes sense too, because Germany is in direct border with the Soviets. The Germans would want to be part of China, so or like be friends with China. Yeah, we could have a stable German Republic. Why not? Like I'm actually starting to think that may be a good idea. France is already really fragile. Ally with Germany, and it makes this more dynamic. Fragile how? Like because of the instability of the Third Republic? Soviet Civil War goes hard. Also left-wing infighting mixed with Thousand Week Right. That could be interesting too. It might be a little overused, and it could be like, I don't know. I really want to avoid the accusations where I just make the Soviets always collapse, always have a civil war. There's a lot of different ways it could be taken, and it's up to me to figure out whichever one's the best. These are all good ideas, and I would want to feature them, so I'll do my best to do that. Yeah, like Fashionista France could make a lot of sense. It could. It's kind of like the Project Stresa thing, though, where Germany gets away with it. Germany gets away with it. France gets angry. But then, like, what ideology is France? Like Napoleon. Yeah, like it could actually be a Napoleonic France. Probably not Napoleon VI, whoever Cohen wanted it to be. But a Napoleonic France makes sense in this scenario where Germany's big and they got away with it. They could realistically actually do a partitioning of Germany with the Soviets. The Soviets would be like, great, yeah, imperialists, take all these lands and divide them up into whatever. So we can make a German communist republic out of it, liberate all of them from you, and then screw you over. Like, that's a really good deal for them. And then the imperialist French are like, oh, we're going to control Europe again. Yeah, it could work. I don't think fashion is specifically how we should approach it. And I would just use Francois Delroc again because of how versatile he is. But I don't want to do that. I've used him like 4 times in a row. France can fight Italy. Yeah, they can. I still support inevitable no-man regime. Yeah. Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact as Molotov Balbo. Could be Molotov French guy. Oh, wait, Molotov. Yeah, Molotov. Mediterranean bloc, add revanchist Turkey to it. Yeah, I definitely see an alliance here. Alright, I'm not watching a stream, I'm doing a stream, Lord Ad. We're gonna have Italy. This is the Italy faction. They don't like Yugoslavia. Hungary doesn't like Yugoslavia. Bulgaria doesn't like Yugoslavia. Romania... No, they're not going to be allied with Romania. They're going to be friends with Romania. I'm having a kerfuffle here. I can't use my usual thing. So, Turkey and Italy are friends. Why is Rhodes not Italian in it? Whatever. Rhodes is going to be Italian. There would be a problem with Italy and Turkey having Rhodes conflicting claims, but they'll just deal with that. Turkey could be the German fashion and be more like, we're going over to the Turks, bro. And Italy's like, okay, whatever, man. And then they're like, okay, I want Yugoslavia dead. Bulgaria's like, I want Yugoslavia dead too. They're friends. But then Romania is like irredentus and angry, so maybe they go with Romania instead. I don't know. It could be either one. Romania is in direct conflict with the USSR. Italy probably doesn't want to be in conflict with the USSR. Like you said, they probably just want a Mediterranean pact. With the buffer state here, this region, yeah, like this is like a natural sphere of influence for Italy. This is what they want, and they want also the colonies. You know, what? Oh yeah, France. They must have taken this because of the Civil War, so they have this, and then so that's Italy. That's a reasonable geopolitical strategy. Then Spanish Civil War. Oh my God, guys, it's the meme. There's a Spanish Civil War. Can you believe it? There's a civil war in Spain. Wow. There's a Spanish Civil War. Could be like French versus Italy, and then France and Italy fight. Yeah, so this makes sense. So then we can still have a Napoleonic France here. So then Napoleon goes in and it's like, Confederation my Rhine. she confederates on my Rhine until I... God. Don't show this to my wife. I hope you don't know who my wife is. Anyway, and the Soviets go in here and they take this. Britain would not like anybody in this situation. Britain would be like, my friend, my good friend, Greece. Oh no, you're gonna get partitioned by the Italians. So then they fight Italy. That makes sense. Maybe Romania is Britain aligned then? Maybe? Czechoslovakia would be French aligned, even if they are Napoleonic. So that that's just the way it is. It's a part of the cordon sanitaire. Austria could be fashion, but it depends on Italy's leadership. If Italy is not fashion, then Austro-fashion would not be a thing. But German Republic, if it's a stable republic, yeah, who is Germany's friend in this situation? We're not considering Germany. Nobody ever considers Germany. I don't want this pale ass purple. I want black. G. German Republic. If they're actually a republic, they'll be like, hey, we could be friends. Let's have a European Union. Oh, let's be friends. And Czechoslovakia could just be neutral then. They're like, we're cool with you, Germany. Okay. France is like, no, I want you guys to be angry with each other. Germany could be like, hey, Hungary, maybe you deserve some land. Germany, like, even if it's democratic, they want Austria. They'd be wanting to follow the stipulations of the Treaty of Versailles, at least the way they interpreted it. And then Hungary is like, maybe they are democratic. They eventually just become democratic, so they're part of Germany's faction. Then they could even take, quote-unquote, Greater Romania. That means whoever's against Romania is against this. They're already against the Soviets, though, so maybe they'd be a part of... Maybe Romania is a part of Germany's faction? Like, Germany just really wants the Soviets out of there, because in order to beat the accusations, or the allegations of just being imperialists in the East, they need to liberate the Polish. So they could work with Turkey even, if Turkey even goes for the Soviets. They probably would because of their borders. Britain and Germany makes sense, though, in this context, actually. The Saxon allies are back. Can you believe it? Hold on. Possible Greek... There's a lot of messages. I really went on a big rant here. Latin bloc, Italy and Iberia against France. Yeah, that could be. Molotov is... Yeah, hold on. Berlin-Rome axis. Unholy Alliance. If you do take the Caesarite dynamic there, maybe. Canon lore series for them. You mean like an actual full project? Maybe. But I don't know. Projects are really hard to do. None of the countries in Europe in this dynamic would unite to invade the USSR, but defend against the USSR. See the USSR being much more defensive. Yeah, and that's why we have like 10 years of peace, is that there's a certain understanding that nobody wants to go to war and everyone's stable enough to be able to defend it off. But there's the original method that they used to trigger a conflict was have Germany be in a civil war. I don't think that makes... that might not be the right way to go. We could have Germany exist and then be attacked in a big partition for some reason. Like maybe they remilitarize the Rhine. Maybe they have too many mills or whatever. And then France goes in. It could work. Somebody mentioned the Yugoslavian collapse. Russian-Italian version of the Molotov. Yeah, maybe. Alliance of Convenience. Yeah, that could work, maybe. Iberia and ally with Italy. Yeah, it makes sense, potentially. France under Charles Ross or Maurice Pujol from the Action Française. Yeah, maybe. I really am interested in Action Française. But I feel like Action Française makes more sense if their neighbors are communists, but... I don't know. That could be the case. Fashionable, but it aligns with Italy. I mean, what would they even try to claim though? What's Italy's... Like, Italy's the leader of the faction. Italy having Mediterranean ambitions makes sense. Them wanting to be friends with Iberians, them wanting to be friends with Turks, and getting their Ardenta against their neighbors and rival powers in Europe of Britain and France. That is a really solid alliance to me. I don't see them wanting to have anything to do with Czechoslovakia. It's just going to compromise their national integrity. She can confederate some Rhine until I puppet. Not how to confederate your Rhine. You had to tell mom. Carlists versus Phalangists versus Normie Spain. That's so funny. Normie Spain. Average Kaiserreich Civil War. Yeah. Finland can be German. Yeah, Finland. Yeah, that makes sense. Germany, China, Britain. That could make sense. Yeah. wonder what Japan's gonna do in this whole situation. That's a whole other dynamic. I'll have to like map this out. No, I can just do that right now. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? I have a map right here. Just make another notes. No, I'll just use this notes. It doesn't even have anything in it. Geopol fun. So, Germany. Okay, let's do it this way. We know that the Soviets are really big. They are here, they're here, they're here. They're surrounded by people who don't like them. Who doesn't like the Soviets? Germany, Finland, China, maybe Britain. Britain's far enough away for them to not matter, but not. Who's against Germany? France could be against Germany. They could not. I was going to do a big chain, but let's just go somewhere else. So Japan. Japan wants colonies in Asia, and they want to subjugate the Chinese. Japan is against Germany, then. Is this the right way? Does this really have J's are? Yeah. I'm losing my mind. They want this. They want this. They want this. They want everything. They want everything. Right? Rising sun, am I right? The USA doesn't like Japan. And there is no reason why the USA and Japan would have different relations unless somebody can prove me wrong. So the USA doesn't like Japan. So doesn't Britain. Britain doesn't like Japan. Britain doesn't like Japan. Britain hates the Soviets, especially because they have this colony here and they could be going down there. But the Soviets would know better not to antagonize the British. So they're literally just vibing until they industrialize so hard that everyone else wants to be them. Like, this is like a really good timeline for the Soviets in peacetime. But Germany and Finland and other bordering nations of the Soviet Union are also aware of how bad it is. They don't want that. Czechoslovakia should definitely be German. I mean, German aligned. So, because of their direct border here. Like, for some reason, the different tag colors really throws me off. Maybe Romania is too. Germany wants Austria. Italy doesn't want Germany to have Austria. France doesn't want Germany to have Austria. France and Italy have similar alignments in that case. But we could mix that up by having them be Napoleonic. Italy. That is not bright enough. Italy. Greece is the way that people are able to get into the Black Sea. The British want the Mediterranean. The British are allies of the Greeks. Italy and Britain are not friends. Italy and Britain don't like each other. This is a wild card and can change at any point. The Scandinavians are probably all going to be rallying behind Finland. So these are also German. Potentially. Like, at least like, friendly. And so there'd be communists in China because the Soviets would want to neutralize all their hostile neighbors. The British influence in Iran is so much that we might as well consider this to be a British aligned state. The Soviets would be fighting them. Having this German, like, European Union be democratic, it just seems like France is going to be Napoleonic. It's just and it also really honors what Yukon was trying to do with the mod to begin with. So France is Napoleonic. What does Napoleon want? Everything. But really, it's just like nationalistic European versus democratic European. It's interesting enough. Could also be Action Francais. If it's AF, then if Italy is anything less than a ultra-Catholic integralist monarchy, then they're enemies. But they're always going to be enemies because Italy wants the Mediterranean. Italy wants the Mediterranean as much as possible. So they're just going to be fighting no matter what. But what will make it most balanced and most intriguing and most interesting is if there is this. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of things that we can do with this situation. But I do like the idea of, like, France being upset that Germany got away with it. And then they're just trying to figure out how to get them back. Okay. Breathing break and reading break. Yeah. Napoleonic France would probably want expansion to other places before going straight in. Partition Belgium with the Dutch. If they partition Belgium, then Britain will be upset. Britain wants Belgium to exist. Could mean that France and Britain fight. But it could... It's in Britain and France's interest not to do that right away. But I do agree that they would want to expand. They could try to take Catalonia in a civil war while the civil war happens. Reclaim that province. Maybe Soviets intervene in Afghanistan and Britain goes, oh no, and allies with either Italy or France against the Soviets. I like the idea of it being either. This is lower cat number 1. But lower cat number 1 is not allowed inside. If lower cat number 1 gets inside, she'll ruin the internet. I will need to stop streaming soon, even though this has been really fun. Isn't Poland the center of the mod? Shouldn't Germany be more of a big bad? I think if I get too caught up on like the name of the mod or the original purpose, we're missing out on the potential of having an interesting scenario. And as the way that it goes now, if in the sense that Poland is the center of the mod, the closest way that Poland has a path to independence is by believing that the Germans are actually going to give them independence once they have their territories. So I would say that this is the best way to honor the Polish part of the mod. Would Albania even exist? Maybe not. Zog, yeah. Branch out in Cold War. Then Taunt was the third superpower. Branching down into the sixth. What is Napoleon I? Yeah, maybe. Do you see if people ping you in YouTube videos and community posts? I don't know about community posts, but I do have a highlighted thing here when you're telling me right now. Maybe Japan remains allies with Britain. That is a really good idea, because that is within the scope of the point of divergence. There's something about this specific communist, the Soviet song that really is throwing me off. Maybe I'm just getting sick of Soviet music. It's so loud. Whatever. Because of the Soviet Union scaring Britain. Yeah, it makes sense, but then what is the USA going to do? The USA would probably be German. Oh. Yeah, Germany and Britain... Germany and the USA would be friends. Hear me out. If Germany is friends with China, Japan wants to take out China, and Japan wants Britain and... Well, not so much Britain, but French, and that's a whole other problem. But Japan wants Philippines. China, USA, German axis. Makes sense. And Britain and Japan were allies until the USA pressured them not to be, and then they were all pissy at each other until Japan took their opportunity. Anti-Soviet alliance. German, Finland, Romania, Turkey. I don't know about Turkey, but yeah, everything there is right, but maybe not Turkey. I heard Gato... Gato. Pétain was a foreign ambassador to Spain in the wars. Perhaps a foreign relation minister could fit. Pétain Molotov patent? Maybe, yeah. I painted another video. I'm not sure, actually. I might. I'm not sure. Polish elites, maybe. But there'd be a distress for Germans in the German-controlled regions. The partnership would be tough with the Poles. Yeah, but like... Either way, they're being subjugated by somebody. It's just a matter of your ideology. If you think that the Soviet Union was a true federation of nationalities with an ideology that benefited the common man, then this is the Poland for you. If you think that communism is stinky and capitalism is actually pretty good, then you want this. That's the way it is. And then how does Germany reconcile that? Germany can't just be like, oh, annexes your Poland. That could be, I think that's even what happened. Like, the no Germans got into power, and then they're like, we're going to revoke the mandate of Poland. And then that causes a civil war. But, like, a civil war. Poland becomes independent. Okay, the Soviet Polish invade Poland. It's done. There's no allies for this. Germany is their only ally. France, and if they wanted to get through, would need to either be an ally of Germany already and already be stationing there. And having a Germany-French alliance, I don't know, maybe. But the other way, go all the way through Denmark and through here. How is that reliable? Any Soviet Navy would be able to take it out, but the French Navy is bigger. Okay, what about all the other threats that the French Navy has to deal with? It does not make sense for them to have this, in control of this. It makes sense if France is wanting to subjugate Germany. That's why Napoleonic France was so compelling to solve the situation, the scenario. And that's why I'm interested in it too. But yeah, like, I don't know. The way I see it is that Germany being democratic and actually leading into lead nations seems like the most plausible thing. And if it's plausible, it means that you don't need to take as many mental gymnastic hoops and leaps in order to make this situation reasonable. Anti-Soviet, hold on. Finland without winter war would stay neutral. That's true, but the Soviets would still see Finland as a threat to Leningrad. So they would try to do like a winter war of some kind, or at least pull them into their influence. And then in order to stay neutral, Finland would be closer to Germany. And because they're more ideologically aligned, essentially Germany's sphere of influence in Scandinavia is kind of intact until... And then world attention will increase, and then they'll probably just sign on as allies. Wait for stress over the time World War II starts. Who leads Britain and America? America's would be FDR. Britain... I think it's just the same as our timeline. I didn't see any reason why it would be different. Wait, hold on. So I don't see the Russians letting Galicia, especially Ukrainian West Galicia, to be fully Polish. They would try to curb Polish influence as much as possible. The problem is that like Ukrainian and Polish influence is bad for the Federation. That's why I like the idea of having a like Galician Soviet Republic, which is like, trust me, we're gonna figure this out later, but this was a Austrian imperial territory and we need to address their problems before we give you guys the proper land. But then that seems like a cop-out. It's possibly stupid, but I like the idea of France allied with Germany on anti-communist grounds and seeking to invade Spain and Italy, who are pushing them towards England. Who is pushing them towards England? Like the Italians and the Spanish are pushing France and Germany towards Britain? I would like a little clarification on that, but I'm not specifically against a French alliance with Germany as much as I was before. Poland going to Germany is the only way here. I agree. Germany, China, US, and Britain versus Britain, Greece, Japan versus France, Italy, Soviets. Yeah, frankly gets it. I won't even like snipping tool that. And frankly, this is what it might be. Maybe. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Turkey can be anti-Soviet, yeah. So I don't see Russians in Galicia. Yeah, I already said that. And negotiate for neutrality with British. Okay. Austria and Spain, actually, is France de la Roque. Well, no, I really don't want France to be de la Roque, because I overuse him. I said it, but I don't want him to be used. Any border ideas and imagery on the Discord is especially appreciated, but I do need to cut off the stream soon because I need to do stuff in real life. What Italian German Fight Corps coup Baltics? Yeah, it could be interesting. I think there's something like that in Caesar, right? I know about the Curzon line. I could look into that too. Make a bad border or a border with Poland, Ukraine argue over. See, yeah, that seems like exactly what they would do. Yeah. I'm saying Soviet leadership, so the Ukrainians and Poles. Whoever sides with the Germans claim the entire region. Yeah, no problem, frankly. It could be Project Stress all over again. What would be Project Stress all over again? Having Germany be democratic and fight if... yeah. Oh, France and Italy. Yeah. That's a good point. There needs to be some way that we get France and Italy not on good terms, and it could even be democratic. Napoleonic makes sense, but Napoleonic claims everything. There's no, like, friends in a Napoleonic situation. I don't know, there's a lot to think about. Never seen a mod of the 3-way World War II? Yeah, I want a 3-way World War II. I want to see if I can do that. Polish Galicia is a bad move for the Soviets. Yeah, okay, well, I'll figure out a Curzon line or something. I'll look at all the suggestions. I don't know if Turkey can be anti-Soviet alliance because Soviet claims land in Anatolia and Armenia. Well, they either claim it or already control it. I'm not entirely certain yet, but it does make sense for Turkey to be anti-Soviet. And in fact, the fact that Italy would be trying to get Turkey on their side is just more like exactly what they wanted out of the war to begin with. So, I don't know. Nerf Germany and American alliance. I mean, if it's just China, I don't think so. Like, China's big, but it's not industrialized. The USA is industrialized. Germany being at war with Britain in that case is pretty interesting. It's a natural consequence, but it would only happen later when Japan starts fighting the USA, which is pretty compelling. And if Germany gets capitulated by the French and the Soviets by that point anyway, then it's a perfect opportunity for them to get involved in that. It's a good way for France to avoid the whole continental blockade of the British. British would be happy that the French and Soviets are fighting. But then what is Italy doing? I don't know. There's a lot to think about. I need to definitely calm down and take a deep breath and stuff. But this is a really good stream that performed really well. I'm really excited to see that people are interested in this scenario and the whole Loregrave series in general. So thank you everyone for participating in this discussion, and I will continue the discussions with you guys when I can on Discord. There's a forum link for it there. I'll try to remember to update the description with all the things I wanted to do, like my Discord, the Discord for Red Vistula, and the reference images. But yeah, maybe we'll do this again next week. I don't know. Or maybe not. I'm going to try to focus on getting this done as fast as possible. But it seems like streaming at this time of day is a lot better than streaming at night. Okay, anyway, thank you very much. Oh, good timing, the music. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. I hope you have a good day.